The icon of Christ the Healer started as an idea of a gift by a generous, anonymous donor. She spoke to Father Bob and Father Ron about an icon that would symbolize and speak to the works and the people of the community of the downtown chapel. Now, an icon starts with a drawing, but it is also the product of all creation, animal, vegetable, and mineral. The glue and part of the gesso are made from animal products. The board comes from trees, and the gesso is crushed marble. The paints are formed by egg yolk, water, vinegar, and different earths or ochres, as well as plant dyes and some manufactured chemicals. All are used for the glory of God and to tell the story of His love. However, sometimes in the beginning there are mistakes. After putting down the agreed-upon drawing, I placed the gold and burnished the halo, and it came out well, and then the work progressed. And over the whole board, a wash of yellow ochre was laid on, but then the problems in the gesso began to appear. As the yellow ochre dried, a series of horizontal and vertical cracks began to cover the board, and it became apparent that the image and gesso would have to come off and the icon begun again. Because once the cracking starts, nothing can be saved, not even the gold of the halo. All was removed to start afresh. In fact, the second gesso I laid on didn't turn out well either, so it too was removed. And so your final icon is actually the third attempt at writing this icon for the downtown community. Now, an icon is not a work of religious art, but it is supposed to be an encounter with the holy. It is said to be written and not painted because it is the continuation of the incarnation of the Word made flesh. It is, as we did over a year ago, begun with the prayer of the community over the iconographer and the project. Each day of working the icon is begun with prayer by the writer and becomes a meditation for him or her as the work progresses. Each part and color has a meaning and is not arbitrarily done. The halo, for instance, symbolizes the presence of God's love, and the gold of the halo shows the presence of the heavenly kingdom. Now, to make the halo, several layers of an Armenian red clay are mixed with glue and is called bowl. This is laid down as a cushion for the pure gold. Thin sheets of 23 3/4 karat gold are laid on a float of liquid over the bowl, and as the liquid dissolves, it pulls the gold down and affixes it to the bowl cushion. The gold is then burnished or rubbed with a smooth agate stone to make it shine like the light of God. Rays of light are etched in with another agate, and decorative dimples are put into the edge. Later, the Greek letters spelling I am are painted onto the cross of Christ's halo to signify his equality with his heavenly Father. The figure of the crippled old man, blessed by Christ's right hand, is to represent the homeless who belong here at the chapel. Father Bob asked that he have a backpack to represent the many members who carry all their worldly possessions with them. Even though he is crippled and nearly naked, he wears a robe of green to symbolize hope and healing, and the red of his bedroll is to mark him as belonging to the royal family of Christ the King. On Christ's left is the figure of Mary Magdalene. In Luke's Gospel, she is described as one of those women who traveled with Jesus and ministered to him. She had been, Luke says, healed of 7 demons. So she stands for the emotionally troubled and mentally ill who are so much at the heart of the community's mission. She wears royal colors of red and blue and carries a jar of precious ointment with which to anoint the Lord and to bring to his tomb. Christ's blessing casts out the power of her demons, who flee into the wilderness shown by the mountain behind her. Her role as the first to experience and announce the resurrection to the world makes her the apostle of the apostles, as shown by the beginning of her halo and the heavenly gold that edges her garments. The figure of the Christ also wears royal blue robes as the King of Heaven, and the red undergarment of the King of Martyrs as he stands under a dome which symbolizes the church. His face looks neither right nor left at those he heals, but outwards towards you and me, to invite us into sharing their blessings and to carry on his work as church, as the people of the downtown chapel. But just as Christ walked the lands of Palestine and loved those he met there, so too does he walk among us here in Portland, and wherever else there are the poor and needful and homeless. To symbolize his presence among us here, Father Bob asked that I include one of our bridges where so many find shelter. So instead of the city walls of Jerusalem that would normally back an icon, the Burnside Bridge and the Willamette River give him his place amongst us. Here in the City of Roses, Christ dwells and works, signified by the band on the front of the temple. This is taken a design used in Portland's own Cathedral of St. Mary. This is the story of the making of your icon of Christ the Healer. It is now to become a part of your own story. Every iconographer begins their work with an ancient prayer. O Lord and divine Master of all that is, enlighten your servant, direct my soul, my heart, and my mind. Guide my hands so that I may worthily and perfectly represent your image, as well as those of your Holy Mother and all the saints, for the glory, joy, and beautification of your holy church. My prayer is that this image will enlighten and bless you who encounter it, to guide your hearts and hands, and to bring you healing and joy in the work of this your community of church, the Downtown Chapel.